This was my identity.
Nobody talks about how freaking hard it is to be a dentist. What most people talk about is how this affects the patient. What nobody talks about is how this affects us. Dentistry is ready for this. Now is really the time.
Welcome to Wellness and Dentistry, where today we're going to be talking about finding purpose behind the production. I'm joined by my good friend and co-host, Dr. Kyle Stanley, who is a dentist, tech entrepreneur, speaker, and researcher. And I'm Dr. Martin Mendelson, a disabled dentist, coach, speaker, and author. And my first book, One Move That Makes All the Difference, is available wherever books are sold. And today together, we've helped thousands of dental professionals pursue wellness and dentistry. And if you're unfamiliar with us, what we'd invite you to do is check out our respective links, websites, and course offerings on the combined website, wellnessanddentistry.com. And don't forget to check out your opportunity to kind of hang out with us in person for our Lightside Live course this coming April 10th and 11th. So, how you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Yeah.
much better than I was earlier in the day. Now that you
You've
and I
had
have been
quite a
talking.
day.
Now that
Yes.
you and I have been talking for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had quite the day, my friend. So,
There was I can't remember her name. There's someone who talks about, I think it's speaking and personal interaction, and she was saying when someone asks you how you're doing, you should give them a number.
mm,
Just like as a way of kind of breaking the ice instead of saying like,
yeah.
good, how am I doing? How are you doing? Good, good. Everyone's good. Yeah, okay, bye. It's like say, 7 out of 10 or like, yeah, today's really good, 9 out of 10, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think
yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that.
You're teasing the coach in me because I'd be like, why is it a seven? But yes.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about finding purpose behind the production, right?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, I think finding purpose is one of the most important things we can do.
Hmm.
And it was one of the big changes in my life as far as personal growth in my
Hmm.
profession in dentistry. I thought that my whole purpose in life was to be a dentist,
Hmm.
which sounds pretty good, right? Like, yeah, help people, make them healthier, make them chew better. I'm a doctor, right?
Yeah.
But when I had complications, my whole self-worth went down the drain.
Hmm.
So when an implant didn't integrate, when a patient was sensitive after I did a filling,
Hmm.
when, a patient that I did wisdom teeth on had a dry socket, right? I felt like my whole purpose in life, if my whole purpose in life is my profession
Hmm.
and I'm having these complications, then something's wrong with me. I'm a loser. I'm an idiot. I wasted the last 20 years of my life. And so when I changed my purpose in life to be outside of my profession, it didn't change that I didn't love dentistry or that I wasn't passionate about it or I wasn't trying to do my best, but it allowed me to really focus on what was important for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really, really cool. And before we hit record, we were talking about how, this is both from our own individualistic experience and perspective, but what I really kind of am gleaning onto or attaching onto is how we communicate this to our team and how the team can find purpose behind the production, right? And not feel like practice goals or any other kind of goals, production goals, daily goals, whatever goals you want to talk about it, becomes about the goal. It's like, no, no, no. The goal is achieved through the dentistry.
And so are you trying to, because most of our listeners are not team members. Most of our
Right.
listeners are either owner doctors, associates,
Hmm.
doctors. We
Yeah.
we tend to have as our listeners.
Mhm.
Although we do have team members, we do have hygienists in front office. But I would say, 80-20 rule would be 80% of our listeners are
Hmm.
probably owners or dentists.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're saying getting purpose into the production for our team members, are you
Hmm.
talking about how they can feel a part of these goals? Can you
Yeah.
be more specific?
Yeah. So it's really a culture thing. So oftentimes when I'm working with teams, I'm like, look, if we accept that whether a patient says yes or no is just another day at the office, well, that's a problem. And the reason why I feel it's a problem is we're actually not by default celebrating the fact that we did our job properly to communicate what we can do for this other human being, for them to opt in and say yes. And so it's not about Mrs. Jones saying yes to the crown. It's about Mrs. Jones being able to chew again. It's about Mr. Jones feeling less self-confident, sorry, less self-assured, excuse me, in their smile. Like it's the thing behind the thing, as my mentor Jen Barley would say. And so, what if we started having this narrative within our practices around, oh my gosh, it's so exciting that Mrs. Jones said yes, she wants to do the veneers because her daughter's getting married. How do you think she's going to feel standing up there feeling good about her teeth? Like, are we having those kind of conversations? And if we're not, why not? And if we're not, what's stopping us? Because at the end of the day, that's what's really important, isn't it? The financial stuff is a lagging indicator of us as good communicators. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
okay. Now I better understand where you're coming from with this
Yeah.
topic. I like that idea of making money, hitting our financial goals, hitting the production goals is a lagging indicator of helping a lot of people,
Yeah.
giving them function back, giving them aesthetics back, and giving them health back. Now,
Hmm.
this was something that I learned from Christian Coachman. I heard him say for the first time, and I never really put it together until Christian said it. And I think he and I were speaking in Indonesia when I saw this. And
Hmm.
he said, dentistry is so special because we're one of the only professions that can give people back their aesthetics,
Hmm.
their health,
Hmm.
and their function.
Yep.
So let's look at some other professions, right? So plastic surgery.
Hmm.
They look better sometimes. Uh, do they function better? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Are they healthier? Not necessarily. Then you look at someone like orthopedic surgeons, right?
Hmm.
Doing hips, doing knees, doing ankles. Do they function better? Yes.
Hmm.
Are they healthier because of it? Probably not. I mean, maybe
Well,
you could argue that, okay, now they're walking, so they can
right.
be healthier,
Yeah.
but it's not really a direct correlation. And does it look better? Usually not. If you've seen the scars
Yeah.
that they have after hip surgery, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
6 inches.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very special what we do. I mean, dentistry is one of these professions that is so special. We
Hmm.
can do so much for our patients
Yeah.
if we are in the right headspace.
Well, and you know what I think is is a litmus test or an example, maybe would be a better way to put it. You know, I've had so many coaching clients where when we started, they had trouble with team engagement relative to accountability. And the example that I've seen multiple times specifically revolves around lab cases. And
Tell me more.
so, for example, somebody's responsible for making sure the cases are there. Somebody drops the ball, and now Mrs. Jones comes in
And the crown's
for
not there.
her partial repair, for her veneer insert, whatever it is, because her daughter's getting married and it ain't there.
Yeah.
And so right away, I kind of know that there's a disconnect between the lab case and the why,
Mm.
because it ain't the lab case. It's the why behind the lab case, right?
One thing that I find hard with team members, I think my dad told me this first, is to many team members, this is just a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get it. Like they don't own the business.
Yep.
They're getting paid a paycheck and they want to get their paycheck and they want to get out of there. And you do find some of these team members that it's their passion. They love
Yes.
it, I mean, and those people are amazing. And I've had
Hmm.
many of them actually work for me or with me at other practices. How should we think about that as dentists
Hmm.
with our colleagues and whether that is your assistants, front office team? I feel
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
hygienists tend to feel pretty connected with the
Yeah.
profession.
Yeah.
And I'm making generalizations here.
Yeah.
I feel like assistants and front office team members tend to feel a little more separated. But how should we be thinking about that? And how should we set our expectations
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
that we're not disappointed? Everybody, all of my assistants aren't rah rah shish boom bah about hitting our goals.
Right. Right.
How should
I
I think about that?
the way I look at it is true or false. You feel that there is purpose behind production as a dentist. True or
Yeah,
false? You feel that
yeah,
way? Right.
true.
So if you feel there's a connection, purpose to production, then therefore, why wouldn't we be communicating that to our team?
Hmm.
Now, at the same time, am I expecting 100% of them to tune in and turn on? No. But at the same time, I'm still doing what I'm doing because I feel the connection. So I guess my point here is this. I'm not necessarily going in with the foolhardy assumption that all team members are going to tune in and turn on just because we are communicating differently. But what I will say is that if we're not communicating differently, then it just becomes a big crapshoot. And I would then therefore question you all, doctors, if you really think there's a purpose to the production. That's
Mm.
kind of my point.
Well, I love what you said because it goes back to one of my principles that I was actually having this discussion with my son yesterday, and maybe I'll tell you about that,
Mm,
which is focus on what you can control.
exactly.
So what happened was my son had his first basketball game of the season yesterday,
Mm.
and I'm one of the coaches. There's two coaches, and we got smoked. I mean, we got killed.
Yeah.
And my son is the best player on the team. He's a great athlete,
Hmm.
but he his mindset is poor. He's an
Mm.
incredible athlete, but if he gets down by 2 points, he like will completely give up. He'll
Mm.
cry. He's 8 years old. He will like he can't control his head. He kind of becomes like, oh, all
Hmm.
annoyed. And I had this conversation with him on the ride home of just like, Valko, you're an incredible athlete.
Hmm.
What's missing is your mindset. We have to focus on thinking positively,
Hmm.
on, and I was trying to have a little mindset moment with an 8-year-old,
Yeah.
which isn't the easiest thing to do. But I know that what's cool now is that they do actually talk about this in school now, which you and I
Yes.
didn't get. But they
Yeah.
do actually teach this. I mean, they teach growth mindset, fixed mindset at my kid's school. And I pretty much told him, like, you have all the skills. What you're missing is just the mind. And that's what we got to focus on. And, whether it hit him or not, I'm trying to like ingrain this into his life because I feel like it would help him in so many ways.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's kind
Yeah.
of what a lot and what I was getting around to with that story was one of the things I told him is all you can do is focus on what you can do. Because he was like, our team
Hmm.
sucks.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, let's say our team does suck.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what you can do.
Yeah.
Can you play better? Can
Yeah.
you help your team members? Can you keep your emotions at check so that you don't get frustrated and then you
Yeah.
play better defense? Like, let's focus on what you can do. You can't control other people. You can't
Absolutely.
control if the ref calls something bad or if your teammate throws it out
Hmm.
of the,
Hmm.
out of the court. And so that's just such a principle of my life now.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you brought this up in this way. So, my book is not about dentistry, nor is it about dentists, although it's told from a dentist's perspective, if you will. Not that it's just my story, it's a bunch of other people's stories. But in my book, I talk about applying to speak at Amos, the surgical meeting. And I talk about the fact that I was turned down 4 times. But the fourth time I applied, I really sunk my teeth into it, pun intended, because they have, and this is not a knock. This is a respectful comment. They have one of the most onerous application processes I've ever seen.
Mm,
And so it was question after question. They require references, et cetera. And I literally write about the fact that on the fourth time around, I got to a point where I didn't care if they said yes because I felt good about the application that I submitted because I did
hmm.
my best. And
Hmm.
so not being attached to the results is a really hard thing to accept. And it's also something that can really, really change your life. And so the reason why this is relevant is that we have to attach the purpose behind the treatment planning, the purpose behind the treatment, and all that stuff so it doesn't end up becoming about the production. Because if we do the best that we can, the dentistry has to come before the production because that's how the production's made.
Yes.
So it may be a nuance, and some people may be sitting here going, "Oh, that's semantics," but it's also 100% valid and 100% true.
Well, I think a lot of things that I used to think were semantics were just mindsets that
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of
yeah,
or that I didn't think of.
hmm
And as I've been on this personal growth journey, I've gotten much better at it. Am I perfect? By no means am I
yeah,
perfect. Am I better? Way better.
yeah,
Even what I was talking to you about in private before we recorded today, I had kind of a hard day.
hmm
And I know that if this was 7, 8 years ago, I would have been stressed out by 8 a.m.
yeah,
Now, I ended up kind of getting stressed out, but it took me 5 hours. And so
hmm
that is actually a huge win that I
right,
see in myself is I was still able to pretty much function. I was a little flabbergasted. I was still able to pretty much function, but I didn't have a breakdown. I
yeah,
didn't cry. I didn't
yeah,
yell at anybody.
yeah,
Even during some of the difficult conversations that I was having with multiple people today, pretty much kept my cool.
hmm
And that's a huge win for me.
absolutely, yeah, because what you went through was pretty hefty. That would do
Yeah.
almost anybody in.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say to you, which is just occurring to me now, thinking of our conversation, how valid is it to say just the fact that you had that problem was a wonderful thing in and by itself?
For sure. Yeah.
Because if you weren't who you are with the connections you have and the
Yeah.
opportunities you have, you wouldn't be in this pickle.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah,
And
that reminds me of a post that I saw recently. You've probably seen something like this, but it's like it's a gratitude post really, but it's, you know, be thankful for the stress that you have of the job that you wanted
yeah,
or that you
exactly.
worked so hard
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, be thankful that you're freaking out because you have a leak in the house that you always dreamed of having.
Exactly. Exactly.
Be thankful for being frustrated with the children
Yeah.
that you wanted your whole life.
Yeah. 100%.
And I see those posts and they're so real.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving was a few weeks ago as we're recording this, and it's become one of my favorite holidays
hmm
since I've gotten into my personal growth journey because it's so nice to hear um, people being grateful out loud. And I can't remember if I told you this or not. I may have told you by text or not, but when we were going around at Thanksgiving, one of my brothers said he was thankful for me.
Oh, nice. No, you didn't tell me that. That's awesome.
And it felt really like I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because
Yeah.
one of my brothers is going through kind of a hard year. And he just said, like, this year I'm really thankful for Kyle.
Mm.
And also too, like seeing some of my brothers' children saying they were thankful for their dads too
Yeah.
was like so cool to see because usually during the day you're not going to say like, "Hey dad, thanks for that." So even just one time a year having this is really powerful.
Absolutely. And something I hadn't thought of, you just made me think of it now. I had a moment during Thanksgiving too where I had to check myself, and it's kind of why the opening of my book means so much to me because it basically says you think people like me who write books like this have everything under control, and that ain't true. I just work on it every day. And so last Thanksgiving I was home. This year's Thanksgiving I was with Michael's family in Maryland. Last Thanksgiving, because I was home, It started as a lark, and I just started recording these short videos, and I ended up sending 47 videos to people.
Yeah.
This year, I wasn't in my own home, and there wasn't really
Yeah.
a thing I could do. And I found myself getting a little bit perturbed because I was like, oh, only about a half a dozen people wish me a happy Thanksgiving.
Mm,
And I stopped and I was like, hold it. Why did you send those videos last year? Because I wanted to.
yeah.
Did I send the videos with an expectation? Hell no. That's not why I did it. And so to end up getting squirrely because this year was different, like, what? Like, that's just nuts. And so it was a very brief period of time, but it enabled me to kind of check myself and be grateful and understand that there's purpose behind the action and the action isn't what I was looking for or what I was going for. So it all this stuff is related to each other. You and I talk all the time, and you're the one who said it first. We're people that are dentists, not, it's what we do, not who we are.
Hmm.
So we've got to just understand and recognize that this mindset stuff and the things that go on between our ears really does set the soundtrack for our lives. And we have a choice, what track we play, so to speak. Right? So,
It's a big learning for me. So much of what I worked on, like when I'm giving keynotes or when I'm talking with people privately or when you and I are coaching people, I get questioned a lot like, so what did you do to feel better? And the answer to that is basically spelled out in my Lightside Academy course. But when you look at it, it's learning skills,
mhm,
but it's not skills that most people focus on.
correct.
It's mostly mental skills,
Yeah. Yeah.
communication skills, how to handle difficult conversations,
Mhm.
mindset of challenging times. I mean, like, it's just controlling your own mind.
Well, and I think the other problem within dentistry and dentists is that we attribute success with some type of tangible gratification that we can point to. And these soft skills you learn over time. And not only myself, but you, because you and I have had 80 million conversations on this, as well as our experience with our friends and our clients, et cetera. You end up working on this stuff and then you have an experience that's more positive and they go, oh, wow, look how I just handled this. And so we have to be really, really careful to look at change in our lives, finding purpose behind production, understanding leadership, communication, understanding these soft skills, that it truly is a journey. And if we keep getting stuck in this effort to put a stick in the ground for some tangible, immediate gratification. I'm sorry, folks, that's not the way this works. It's a journey, not a destination. And when you start to accept that, that's when you really grow because I hear this all the time, and you alluded to this earlier. With my clients, they go, I'm really sorry, Martin. I slipped this week. And I'm like, whoa, no, 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 no. Please don't apologize. Growth is not a sloping upwards linear
Yeah.
line. It looks like a sine wave on a psychedelic journey. So we got to remember that. Like it's not this standardized upward linear progression. That's not the way it works.
That's hard for us dentists
Oh yeah.
because we know step by step how to get to one
Yeah,
position. So we say,
exactly.
okay, I do well in high school, then I get into college. Then
Yep.
I do these subjects, then I graduate with a high GPA, then I get into dental school. Then I do well on my physical exams and my written exams, and then I graduate. Then I, take my boards and I do this. And even, when we're doing a filling, it's okay, then I etch for this long, then I rinse for this long, then I, aerobrade, then I, right. We love these recipes that just get us to this certain
Mhm.
level, and personal growth happens like that over time,
Yeah.
but you are constantly going back and forth. You're constantly having ups and downs. And like you said, that slope, if you look at that slope up close, it is crazy. It's like, I mean, it's like the
Mhm.
stock market, 5 minute little
Yeah.
candles going up and down, up and down. But even the stock market, when you zoom out in
Yep.
general, there's this upward trend. And that's how it should be in our lives.
Yeah.
And that is everything in life. That
Yeah.
is being a parent, being a dentist, being a business owner,
Yeah.
driving a car.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if I even look at my driving abilities over time, I'm a much better driver now because I've been driving for so
Yeah.
many decades.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't think that you're going to get into this personal growth stuff and immediately be a guru at it.
Right.
It's work. It's challenging. You have questions. I've been working on this for a long time and I still come to Martin and be like, Martin, what should I do in this case?
Hmm.
I know the principles, but I can't put it together. And
Yeah.
he's been on it a little bit longer than me. And so he'll come to me and say, okay, do this, or let's try something else. And that's how we have to think about this.
Well, not only that, and what I love that you said around, relative to being a leader is that you have to give your team grace as well because they're going to be on this roller coaster
Yeah.
journey as well. And so, no, just because you went over something once doesn't mean everybody's going to embrace it wholeheartedly. Now, if that's a pattern over multiple instances, well, that's a different story. But I
Yeah.
guess my point is that you can't expect to, cover something once and feel like, it's the antidote to all your problems. That's not the
Hmm.
way it works.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's bring this into land today.
Hmm.
So we talked about finding the purpose behind the production.
Yeah.
And I love how you said the production is the lagging indicator of helping people,
Yeah.
right? And of giving people what we believe they need.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think when you're doing dentistry that you feel strongly about,
Hmm.
it's easy to get case acceptance.
Yeah.
It's easy to build trust,
Yes.
easy to get people to pay. It's when
Easier.
you feel kind of icky about something that
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, we could do a crown, but I don't really know. Like when you are passionate about something, you're like, yes, this implant is going to really help this person chew. It's going to avoid these other teeth from falling
Hmm.
mesial and distally, and their tongue's going to expand to fill this hole. Yeah, I really think that, you spending 5 grand on this
Hmm.
is what you should do.
Hmm.
You're going to come with a different feeling. And yes, the lagging indicator is going to be that we make the production and we're able to support all the overhead and pay employees and take home a little bit of money. But in that
Well,
process, we help somebody.
well, I think the other thing to remember too is don't be attached to the results. So remember you were just talking about how the stock market going up and down, but when you zoom out, you see a linear growth.
Yeah.
So same goes with case presentation. You're not going to win them all. And
Yes.
so, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I communicated at my best ability, well, that needs to be good enough.
Yeah.
And whether that person says yes or not, they're doing the best they can with the skills they have at the time. That you may have no idea what's going on in their life,
Hmm.
which is making them say no or making them say
Yep.
yes for that matter.
Right.
So getting attached to the purpose of being a great communicator in transmitting what can be done from a treatment perspective, that needs to be enough. Now, granted, watching patterns and, making sure that you're improving, which will be reflected in the overall numbers over, let's say, a quarter, half year, a year, that is important to evaluate. I'm not saying you don't look at the outcome, but what I'm saying is if you're getting attached to every singular one, that's when you're going to run into trouble.
Yeah. Well, guys, we hope this was helpful for you today. And if you'd like to join us, you can go to the link in our show notes
Mhm.
or you can go to wellnessanddentistry.com that has the link to join us for Lightside Live, April 10th and 11th. If you're not part of MB2 Dental, then you can join us if you become part of the Carabelli Club.
Hmm.
Carabelli Club is a buying group that my practice joined, and it's going to save us about $20,000 this year across all different discounts. That link is also in the show notes. So check it out. You can message either one of us if you have any questions about it, and we hope to see you in April. We'll see you on the next episode of Wellness and Dentistry.
Take care.